Hi, this is Savannah,
And this is Brian from the Dorky Diva Show,
and you're listening to Starboars.
the best place for below average Star Wars.
The Dorky Diva Show presents
Why is this seat so much more comfortable?
the long-awaited sequel to the adventures of the Zolan Dart audio drama.
Have you seen the captain's datapad?
Trying to work, Murph.
Piloting the Zolan Dart by himself,
You do understand the details of this particular job, correct?
I've been on plenty of jobs like this. With you!
Reldar Sias returns to a planet he thought he'd left behind for good.
Is there a reason you didn't mention I was tagging along?
Hopefully having you there will make others think twice about messing with me.
Making new friends
Oh, you must be the pilot of the Zolan Dart, yes?
I guess I am.
and reconnecting with old ones,
Reldar?
Vera?
What are you doing here?
until past grudges resurface.
I'd be minding my own business if I were you.
Well, if your business wasn't being handled right in front of my face, maybe I could mind my own business. We have to leave. Now.
Why the rush all of a sudden?
We're in trouble.
If it isn't little Reldar Sias.
Hey, Yorick. Long time no see.
Roz already knows you're here.
Oh,
Look who decided to come home.
Reldar must confront his origin,
I must admit, I never saw this as being a part of your past, Softshell.
or let it define his future.
I will get what is owed to me, no matter the cost.
because what Roz is trying to do is wrong.
Says you.
My blasters, we're going to need these. Take that, Sleemo!
Who do you think you are?
The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, Episode 2, coming soon.
Welcome to Starboars, best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below average Star Wars. I am the Geordie Jedi Pete,
And I'm Jason Hondo Ling.
and we are back with a brand new episode of Star Wars, just to break down some of the latest comings and goings in a galaxy far, far away. Jason, thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. As we've just been discussing, it's been a quiet one for a while, but it's nice to be able to start getting more Star Wars news dripping through.
Definitely. We've got a couple of things I just want to, more announcements, I suppose, than actual news stories to talk about, and then we'll dive into a couple of cool Star Wars topics to chat about. But first things up, the Prince Charles Cinema in London, they are showing the first two trilogies, so that is the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, Star Wars episodes 1 through 6, in glorious 4K, from the 8th of December to the 30th of December. Not all movies are on each day, so you might want to check their website to see which days are which for all 6 Star Wars movies. But if you live in London, or you can get London easy, a great chance to watch Star Wars in 4K on the big screen. I'm quite jealous of that. I think I would love to be closer to a cinema that could do that. And I think that's something that they definitely need to look at. Maybe spreading around the country and around the continents and around the world. So yeah, if you live in and around London, or you can get there easy, definitely recommend checking out the Prince Charles Cinema's website, getting yourself some tickets booked, and you can probably enjoy all of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy on the big screen in 4K, which would be pretty awesome. Would you, if you could see any Star Wars movie on the big screen right now, which one would you pick, Jason?
I think for me, I'd probably want to go and see. Probably thinking about it actually on the big screen, Rise of Skywalker. No, not Rise. Revenge of the Sith. Sorry.
Number 3.
Purely
So you could
because,
so
yep.
go on, mate.
No, I think purely for the battle sequences in that, it'd be pretty awesome, and to see it somewhere like an IMAX or something like that, that'd be awesome.
No, it certainly would be awesome, and that movie is available at the Prince Charles Cinema. So if you, like Jason, are excited for some Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars Episode 3, you can check it out there in glorious 4K. Moving on from that, we've had quite a bit of news about Dave Filoni. So I think starters, he's now the Chief Creative Officer of Lucasfilm, which I think is a new role created for him. I don't know why, but when this got announced sort of last week, I was a bit like, I thought this had already been announced, but it obviously hadn't. But in my head, he'd already been given some sort of similar role. But that was just me. So yeah, Dave Filoni's now the Chief Creative Officer, and he'll work sort of directly in the early development process as opposed to the later. I think he's come onto a lot of projects in the past, decade. Maybe is more of a what would the word be? To look at it, so it's already down the development line, if that makes sense. So this is going to be sort of more earlier in the development phase. Working with Carrie Beck, who's now become so she's the head of development at Lucasfilm, and obviously President Kathleen Kennedy. So those three be working to shape the future of the Star Wars galaxy and the future Star Wars releases. I don't know what your thoughts were on this news, Jason, but take it away.
I think it's just making official a role that Dave's had for quite a while in the Star Wars world. And I think it's been quite obvious, with a lot of the projects that have come out, his name has quite often been attached somehow as an advisor, and it's been very clear for us as fans to see where his fingerprints are on a lot of stuff. So I think giving him this role sort of, for me, cements that there's a bit of a sensible play going on at Lucasfilm, that they've realised that, this is the guy that's got his finger on the pulse, is creating what the fans want. He's also not afraid to be a little bit controversial and try new things, which is needed all the time. So it's not just pure fan service. So for me, it's great news. Having Dave in this role, I think it's going to be good for us as Star Wars fans, in making sure that the content we get is, the 100% Star Wars as we like it. And obviously, it seems that they're sort of restructuring and, putting all things in place at Lucasfilm, which can only be good news because, there's clearly a future ahead for it all. So I was pleased, and I'm enjoying all of the stuff that Dave's coming out with at the moment, and the discussion about all the different series that, one, he's worked on, and two, that we're hoping he's going to work on.
So this would be first of all, congratulations, Dave, on the promotion. I'm sure that, as soon as you become a sort of some sort of officer, you sort of director level of the company, which is good. So probably some good pay now coming in. Not that he's probably not paid before, but hats off to him. Worked hard for it. Some have said, the apprentice becomes the master, but a human being only has so many hours in the day, right? So if Dave now has more responsibility, he now has less time to develop his own stories because he's been looking at other people's stories. So how do you feel about Dave touching more stories, but us getting less original Dave content, which has to be the trade-off, I suppose?
I think it'll be that. I think it's more that having. It's like I've said all along. My biggest issue, with the stuff that happened with the sequels, was the lack of someone guiding it, And I think that's the role that Dave's now taking on, which I think, it'll only mean that we may not get a lot of 100% Dave Filoni stuff, but we're going to get a lot of stuff where he's guided that process and, kept it more in line and not let it stray too far to the point that, it becomes unrecognizable. And because, so, no, I think it's only good for the future of Star Wars. Having someone that's, got the love of of the whole story. He understands it. He understands the fans. You just have to look at the way he interacts with the fans and the way the fans interact with him. It's exciting that, and also he's not afraid to listen. I've seen stuff before where he's sort of gone, yeah, okay, that's interesting idea. And then the next thing you know, something's been woven in somewhere, which that's good creative, and I'm quite excited about it. I don't think we're going to find that Star Wars is suddenly going to be watered down from Dave Filoni stuff. I just think it's going to give it the chance to bring in more creatives and for him to work with those creatives in forging the Star Wars that George Lucas started.
And how do you think he'll deal with creatives who maybe want to do their own thing? If you look at Solo, we look at Phil Lord and Chris Miller, two award-winning storytellers, but obviously, for whatever reason, didn't fit in with the Lucasfilm group, and obviously ended up having to walk away from the project. Do you think Dave will be strong and will be like, no, you're doing it wrong when you keep the story going this way? And then, if anything, do you think that will lead to more people walking away from Star Wars and more people coming into Star Wars?
It could do, but I think because he is a creative himself, and someone who has created new stuff for Star Wars, I think he'll be more willing maybe than some other executives to listen to new ideas, to take those on board. And I think, in the long run, he'll protect the franchise, but he won't hold the franchise back.
I guess what I'm saying is, so some would say that the call that Lucasfilm made to sort of replace Phil Lord and Chris Miller on Solo with Ron Howard was to save that movie as best it could.
Yeah.
So do you think Dave would make that decision, or do you think he would be like, oh no, why don't you let them make their movie first? And I guess what I'm saying is a lot. The responsibility comes to it's a lot of that, a lot of how much things cost, and obviously if Dave now oversees the creative process and then the creators make something that's maybe not up to his standard, to then go back and change it is more dollars, which then is going to have Bob Iger on his back. And I just wonder how he will cope from just being able to make Star Wars stories to then actually having all of that extra political studio bullshit to deal with, if that makes sense.
I think he's always had to deal with that to a certain degree, because of the different series that he's been involved with, and I think it's just sadly that is part of the process. The money there's always going to be the bean counters, and you've always got to deal with those. And I'm pretty sure he would have had to deal with those. He wouldn't have had a blank check when he was creating Ahsoka. So he's worked on that from the creative point of view. So he may be a bit more receptive to those creatives, but I think he will also understand the process and the fact that, if the decision's got to be made, I think he'll be willing to make the decision. But I think the difference will be that a lot of the decisions he will make will be more in line with, protecting the franchise and protecting what George has created before.
Do you think with the new role, obviously, I suppose the next set of movies that are going to be the new Star Wars, I suppose, is the Daisy Ridley movie about the new Jedi Order, which I'm sure they want to spawn into a series of films, I imagine, if they want it to be successful, I suppose. Do you think this will then lead to sort of Dave being heavily involved with that. If we take Warner Brothers Discovery, obviously the merger happened and they got rid of a lot of DC executives. James Gunn, for example, has been put in charge of the studio now, and then he's in charge of sort of all the creative, but also like he's writing and directing the Superman movie. That's going to be the pinpoint for it, like the sort of the beginning. So I suppose we'll see how he does, and then we'll see if he copes okay with not just making, writing and directing a project while also executive producing and being heavily hands on with all the rest of the universe. I suppose it is doable, but I just worry about how stressful that can get. We'll see how he does with that, and obviously we'll see how Dave does when Dave gets his hands on it. Because I imagine it'll be, he's in the role now. Like I said, it'll be these next film projects will be the first things that he really touches, I suppose. From that mindset, we've got our directors already hired, so now we'll see how they work with Dave. When they were hired, they probably weren't working with Dave as much. So we will see. Have you got any other thoughts about Dave's promotion and about the creative changes there?
No, as I say, for me, it's something that I feel is necessary in a way to stop problems like the Rise of Skywalker. Which was, well, the whole sequel trilogy was a mess because there wasn't someone, in my mind, they didn't guide it, they didn't have a clear plan. I'm not saying that any of the ideas that were put forward by any of the directors were bad, but because there wasn't someone molding it and making sure that it was going right,
I
it
feel that the
became a
first
mess.
two episodes though they do flow on from each other.
Yeah, yeah.
So like
And I
Force
think it
Awakens and The Last Jedi, like pretty much time with each other. I know people are like, Ryan Johnson had Luke be on an island. Well, no, like he was on an island in the first movie, and then Ryan Johnson continued the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think obviously
No,
pressure put on that third film because the third film was called Duel of the Fates originally by Colin Trevorrow, and we didn't get that because of Carrie Fisher's death and some political nonsense that went on in the background. So I feel like maybe we get that an unfair thing, in my opinion. That do you know what I mean? Like that last movie is very different from the first two, but I don't think the first two are that disjointed from each other. If that makes sense.
I think they were very different tones, and there was parts of them that I felt didn't quite mesh. But like you say, the third film, yeah, big difference there was obviously the loss of Carrie caused quite a few issues because it should have been her film. But I still feel that um, I don't think there was necessarily, whereas obviously the originals and the prequels, although obviously the originals had in effect three different directors, George was very much the creator, and I feel that with the sequels there wasn't that clear tied together by one person that was overseeing that they all came together. So I'm not saying it was bad that there was three different visions. I'm just saying that because those three films were supposed to be all of the same story together, it didn't necessarily work. And that's why I think, having Dave in the position that he is, overseeing it, then there is that guiding hand, which is what I think they ultimately need. If if they're going to continue with when they're doing different stuff, so like Solo as a standalone, then it's a story told in the Star Wars universe. Rogue One was a standalone, but it tied in very closely, and that was an amazing film, but very different to what we'd seen previously as Star Wars. Um, and that's not a bad thing. But obviously, Previously we've obviously had the story group were supposed to be the ones that were tying everything together. Um, and, you know, that just seems to be now that that's a role that, Dave's going to be taking on with the films. So it'd be interesting to see, but like you say, it's a difficult one when you've got one executive that's in charge of it, and they've got a lot of things to balance. But then, if it, I believe he's quite a good team leader, and he'll bring in teams, and he'll mold the teams that will work together, and that's what a lot need. What hasn't necessarily worked in the past is the team with the same sort of vision.
Yeah. Obviously, some of the comments that he's made is obviously about Baylon Skoll. Obviously the strike's over now, so there's been a lot of behind the scenes footage, pictures, interviews, new interviews now because they can now speak to people. So obviously Dave is talking about Baylon Skoll's story is not finished, as is sort of insinuated by that last shot of him on top of the motor squads looking at the distance. I know you were quite strongly about not recasting and just having the story die. How do you feel now, sort of, that we know the story's not done and that we probably are going to get it at some point?
I don't necessarily want the story to die. I just don't. It's the recasting side of it. I feel there's other mediums that they can explore, which Dave mentions in his interview. He said that it's very much in limbo because obviously he wants to still respect what Ray did in the role. And it's really interesting because I always, watching the show, I always believed that, I didn't see Baylon as a bad guy. I saw him as being on a different path. And it's quite interesting that Dave confirmed that he said he constantly had conversations with Ray where he said, you're the bad guy. And Ray replied, no, I'm not. And Ray played it as not being the bad guy. And that's what I think made that character so special is he wasn't a clear bad guy. He was, he was on a path trying to find a way because he lost his belief in the Jedi. And that's what I think made that role. And I think maybe exploring it, I know obviously you don't tend to read as much of the comic books and that, but I think the comic books could be a good way of continuing that story and giving us a more in-depth look at the Baylon Skoll issue without
Would
having
that
to
make the same
destroy.
amount of money, though, as a TV show?
No, I don't think it will. But at the same time, at the moment, there there's a lot of stuff to make. They can't make a TV show of everything and every story that they want to tell.
I
And
know they
that's
can't, but
becoming
let's just
more and
say,
more.
so Ahsoka's on that planet with Baylon, okay? So,
Yeah,
in my opinion, I think season 2 of Ahsoka was going to be Ahsoka and Sabine looking to stop Baylon because they're all on
yeah.
the same planet doing the same thing. So, if that was the plan, then I think we don't know the plans, but let's just say that is to then turn into a comic book is going to your profit margins are going to drop straight away. And then
Yeah, I
what do you do with
completely
your Ahsoka
agree.
series too?
But
So I don't know.
likewise, the other issue is that Ahsoka and Sabine were very intent on stopping Thrawn. So their story could easily then be getting back to, you know, being with Ezra and Hera fighting Thrawn. So if they're looking for a way off the planet, that could happen a lot quicker than having this story. There's so many stories that could go. This is the thing, and this is what's brilliant about that series. Like you say, we've all got our ideas of how the story wants to go, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a TV. You can still enjoy that story in another medium. So, and that's the beauty of Star Wars. There's so many stories to tell. I
Yeah.
don't think it would be a bad thing to put it into a comic book. You
I
know,
guess I'm not
rest.
saying it's gonna be bad. I love comics. Like what I'm saying is that if Bob Iger's back now and he wants to make money and he's being quite on the front foot about that. So if they've got this character who's selling a lot of merch and was going to be the forefront of a future season, I don't think he's going to be like, let's put it in a comic book. Do you know what I mean? I think he'll be like,
No, but at
no, we need to get this.
the
We need to greenlight this and go.
but at the same time, Bob Iger's been saying that they've been creating too much content, as in television and that, and he seems to be wanting to head back towards the film side of things. But who knows what these creatives are going to do? The main thing I'm worried about is that they somehow do raise storytelling justice, and we do get to see what happened after that scene in Ahsoka. But there's so many ways it could go, and that's the beauty of Star Wars. We get all these ideas. There's lots of fan ideas, but in the long run, it's what comes out as the canon piece. Sometimes we all get hung up with our own ideas and disappointed that they don't happen. But that's what I love about Star Wars is it feeds your imagination. So if it's happening in your imagination, then they've done their job.
Any other thoughts about Baylon Skoll and any of the Dave Filoni comments?
Um, uh, I do I'm pleased that they've highlighted what we were saying all the way through when we were watching the series. It is heartbreaking that Ray didn't get to see the reaction to that character. And I think it's it's a legacy that he's left behind, which is amazing. Um, the other one, obviously, Dave's been talking about all the other actors, and there's been some brilliant photographs of the groups coming out from the Ahsoka series. And one thing that seems to have come across is that Ahsoka series looks like it was a lot of fun to be made, and there was a real camaraderie with the cast. So I'm really hoping that they get the chance to do a second season, because I think what they built there was almost as good a relationship as some of the characters that were done in the original trilogy. So hats off to them. It's great that they finally get to tell their story of making Ahsoka now that the strikes are over with. And as I say, Rosario's said that she's certain that Dave's already planning something. So that's good news for all of us, because I think we'd all love to see a second season. And, we want to see where Ahsoka and Sabine end up.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I mean, I'd be surprised if there's not treatments already written for like season 2. Maybe not finished
Yeah.
scripts, but he'll know the outline. And I think had the strikes not been on, it would already be announced by now. I think they're waiting for a nice time to tell us like the good news that like Ahsoka's back for season 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving on from that, as I said, it's been a bit quiet because of the strikes. On film news, obviously Lucasfilm have been pushing out, and Disney Plus have been pushing out a lot of advertising about Indiana Jones. So Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones 5 is on Disney Plus now for everyone in the world. But it's going to be the 15th for us in the UK. And it's also a really cool documentary about timeless heroes, which focuses on Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford, which again I imagine is out everywhere the rest of the world if you're listening, but in the UK I think it'll be the same time, the 15th, when we get that, hopefully. Which I'm looking forward to watching the documentary. It should be very good. And I really enjoyed that. I've seen it twice at the cinema, and really enjoyed it as an ending to Indy's story. Let's talk some Lego news. Jason, I'll let you take it away with what is coming soon and how you're going to spend your money on it.
Yeah, well, at the moment, I'm still saving myself ready to get my Ghost set, which I'm hoping for Christmas. But yeah, recently, the last couple of days, two sets that we've seen the images for have come out that look pretty exciting, and that's the first one is set 75372, which is the Clone Trooper and Battle Droid Battle Pack. I think this is going to be a must for most people because it's a really nice. I think you get three clone troopers and a shock trooper. You get three of the super battle droids and then two of the. I think it was two of the ordinary battle droids. Plus, you get the spider droid, which is one of my favourites from the prequel series. So yeah, that looks like a really good set, and I think if I remember rightly, it's under £30 as well. So it's quite a good value little builder set, battle pack. The second set that has come out is Crimson Firehawk, which is from the young. Oh, I can never remember this one. I haven't personally really watched it. Is the Young Jedi? Trying to think of the
Young
name.
Jedi Adventures.
Yeah. So that's a set from there, which again is aimed at the full plus market, so it's a more junior set. But I think it's probably one of the bigger sets that they've done for that sort of market. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be a pretty popular one. So that looks pretty cool. But there was also earlier in the month, there was, I think it was a Dutch trade site that actually released the kits that we can expect next year. I've lost the list again. Here we are. So on top of those two kits, there's one unknown kit there. There's a MIDI scale Tantive 4. Which looks, will be quite a popular one. There's Grogu's Escape, which I'm sort of hoping, does that mean we're going to get a Caloran Beck minifigure? There's a new buildable R2D2, which is always popular. Boonta Eve Pod Race diorama, which I think is taking on it's going to be in the same vein of the dioramas that they've done before, so I think that's going to be a popular one. There's a buildable droidica, which I think, again, that sounds like that could be pretty cool. And then the Tantive boarding diorama, which again, the dioramas seem to be a very popular build at the moment, although I haven't really done any yet. So that one looks like that's going to be quite a promising one. So that's come out from Dutch wholesaler Eldorado International. So they're all listed as ones that we know we're officially gonna get. So there's some quite interesting sets coming out for next year.
It certainly is. And how's the Advent calendar been going?
Yeah, each day on Jedi News, James has been putting up the calendar. Obviously, I've already done mine. That was done back in September. But obviously, the very first one, the first door, I don't think I'm going to spoil it for anyone if I say that the first one that anyone got was Omega, and her with a wooden sledge, which was quite a fun little build. And obviously, with anyone who's a fan of the Bad Batch, it was a nice way to get the Omega minifigure. So that was a great one for the first day. The second day was the mini build of the Justifier, which is quite a good one. I've enjoyed building that to go alongside my full size one. And I believe today's one was Mando's M1. So that's another fun little mini build to do. So obviously we've got 24 days worth coming along. There, I can say that this year's calendar has been a fun build, and I was really pleased with the minifigures and stuff that I got with it. Which they are actually sat here with me. So I've got Emperor Palpatine sat in his throne with his hot chocolate, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, so yeah, definitely recommend if you're looking. I have seen rumours that you can actually get the advent calendar for as little as £15 in some Asda's. So I would say if you pop in and you manage to find them, it's worth a buy, especially at that sort of price.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, there's been some good bargains lately. I think Game, so either a game store on its own or games are sometimes inside Sports Direct or inside River Islands. They've had some really good deals on Vintage Collection and Black Series. Some really good deals, and it varies from store to store, but some of them are less than half price. Like you're paying less than half price, which is fantastic. So definitely check that out if you're after Vintage Collection and Black Series. Any other bargains you've found lately when you've been searching for tasty treats?
Yeah, obviously, B&M are doing some good discounts on the Lego sets. So the Shin Hati Starfighter and the E-Wing double pack, that I think has got £10 off. I think also the TIE Interceptor with the Fang Fighter, I think that was down to about 55 quid. So they've got some really good deals out there at the moment. It's a case of, I, I keep, I'm terrible for I'll see the deals, I don't have the money, so I'll hold back and then I'll live to regret it. So I would say if you see some of these deals, it might be worth snapping them up. But yeah, no,
Definitely.
there's some
That's what a
really,
credit card's for
but
the
oh
deals.
dear. Look, have you purchased any decent Star Wars stuff lately, Pete?
So to be fair, I've got probably about 4 boxes. Mixture of Black Series and Vintage Collection. Some from Hasbro Pulse, some from other collectors. From like the collecting groups. So I need to unbox them actually, and probably get them on the TikTok and post images of it. So I haven't opened them up, but some, like I said, some good Black Series and some good Vintage Collection that I need to just get around to opening up. It's been a pretty hectic time in my work life, so it's been crazy. So packages have arrived, I just haven't opened them. So some of them are like older figures from earlier in the line, from collectors groups, and then some are new ones. So I've had a couple of packages from Hasbro Pulse. So one of those I haven't opened it, but will be the Vintage Collection Jedi Revan with the HK-47 droid from Knights of the Republic. So again, that's still in its box at the ride-in, but that'll be awesome to finally open. And I believe Obi-Wan Kenobi from the end of the Kenobi series. When we see him when he meets Qui-Gon.
Oh,
When he
nice.
finally gets to meet Luke face to face, like properly, like that Obi-Wan, like the legend Obi-Wan. That's again, it's still in its box, but one of them will be that. And like I said, some cool older Black Series from some fellow collectors in the collectors groups to open up as well. So I need to get around to that at some point.
Well, I had some good news from Jedi Archives. They've managed to source some itty bitty pops for my daughter, so she'll be happy for Christmas Day to see what she's bagged there.
That is good. Also, if you see it, Jedi Archives, thank you very much for sorting that out. But remember, we need the TC 14 or 13. What's he called again? I've forgotten exactly.
Yes, yeah. No, I'm
TC
heading that
14,
way
I believe.
Wednesday, so I'll have a look for you.
Yeah. But no, TC 14, the protocol droid from the Phantom Menace. I want the original release
That's
from
right.
the Phantom Menace if I can. without paying too much money for it, hopefully. But I don't know why, I just want him. It's just a silver protocol droid, very cool. Comes with the tray and the drinks that obviously serves Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon before they get gassed to death, I suppose. So fun times. Anything coming up in your Star Wars calendar?
No, I don't think so. All quite. I did receive my Jedi News parcel. I don't think I've mentioned that. James kindly does us a thank you parcel around December time for basically helping out with the website and everything over the year. And I received the Lego Star Wars um, holiday special diorama, which I'm in the process of building tonight. And
Very
I
nice.
also received two of the trying to remember the name now. It's the two Star Wars shirts that I got, the Ahsoka and Bo-Katan ones. So I did wear the Bo-Katan shirt out on a Star Wars on the Saber building day at Jedi Archives. I think this week the Ahsoka shirt will be getting its first airing. But yeah, thank you very much, James, and yeah, the um, definitely two very fun things to go in my collection.
Very nice. Sounds awesome. Sounds very awesome. I think that sort of brings an end. Like I said, just a quick catch up today. It was, I suppose, Dave Filoni was the biggest part of the news. Really, was his comments. Obviously, just want to mention something just briefly. You know, we don't want to talk about it too much. But Mark Thorpe, who sort of one of the legendary ILM model makers from Star Wars and Indiana Jones, has passed away at age 77. So we just want to send our thoughts to his friends and family, and just thank him for, you know, being so instrumental in creating those effects that are the reason why movies like Star Wars and Indiana Jones are so beloved by us all. And I suppose if you think about it, you know, we've talked about Ray Stevenson obviously passing away, Mark Thorpe passing away. Just remember to always tell the people who you love that you love them, I suppose, is my message. Because you never know when time might run out, sadly. And that is the biggest question, I suppose, that is life, is, you know, I suppose you never know when it's going to come to an end, and, you know, hopefully everyone lives long lives, but not everybody does. So, you know, always tell the people around you that you love them, and then they'll always know that. Sorry to make it a bit emotional and sad there. But Jason, I love you, just so you know.
Ah, cheers, bud. Likewise, you know, it's I have to admit that, you know, it was a pleasure actually getting to spend some time with you at Celebration, and you know, we've shared our love of Star Wars for the last, I suppose we've been doing this about 2 years now. So it's good, and it's, you know, I'm hoping next year you and I are going to get a chance to meet up and do some more Star Wars stuff. Because it's
Yes.
always fun to share the love of Star Wars, and you know, friendship is built out of this. You know, I've made a lot of friends from, you know, both Jedi News and through Star Wars, and I'm grateful for that.
No, definitely. And the adventures will continue. They certainly will. That is a nice little segue to the end, I suppose. Jason, where can the people find you on social media?
You love doing this. It's at a Hondo Ling.
Well, hey. And you can find me on social media, basically on Twitter, or X as it's now called, and Instagram at Jolly Jedi Pete. You can find the podcast on Twitter, or X as it's now known, at Borstar. And you can find the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Star Wars Podcast. Check us out there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, please leave us a top review. And it makes me and Jason smile quite a bit. It only takes you a couple of moments. Also helps a lot of people find the podcast. And if you are listening on a different type of podcast forum. There's a lot of them out there, and we are available on most of them. Again, just whatever they have for their rating system or review systems, leave us a little top review. Again, makes us very happy, makes us smile. Will be a very nice Christmas gift. And again, helps other people find the show. But that is all from us. May the force be with you all. And remember, always tell that to Kanja Club.
Hello, Star Wars listeners. This is Savannah Odit. You might know me as host of The Dorky Diva Show with my co-host Brian Balance. I am also producer of The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, which is a Star Wars-inspired audio drama that we produced over the last year. If you love stories about smugglers, courage, heroic characters, and maybe a few foes along the way, you should go to thedorkydivashow.com and listen to The Adventures of the Zolan Dart today.
Shout! We've got your pigs.
Were any of the critters harmed?
What did you do now?
I didn't do anything. I just freaked out for no reason.
It was nice doing business with you again. Maybe next time we could deliver something less temperamental.
Now, what you call temperamental, I call fun.
Hey, is there a place nearby where I can make some repairs?
3 clicks south of here, you'll find a small spaceport. They should have what you need, as long as it's nothing too big.
Dynamic class? My stars, you don't hear about many of those still being space-worthy.
It's been in my family for a while.
She's pretty great. Any chance you have a hover cart we can use to load up?
I'll check out the HoloNet to see if anything new has come up in the sector.
My name is Sereth Kon. I am the chief here on Kamai. My people and I have been experiencing food shortages as of late due to unforeseen natural occurrences. We are looking to hire someone.
I say we take this one. The pay is great, and it's the type of job we're familiar with.
Welcome. You must be Captain Otoa. I've already sent word to Pac-2 to expect you in the next cycle or so.
You told him we were coming before we even accepted the job. That's rather presumptuous, isn't it?
Perhaps, though once I received confirmation that you were interested and on your way here, I couldn't help but hope.
Fair enough. Well, we'll be back as soon as we can.
Well, that's not good.
Is that blaster fire I hear?
So you're the one.
Captain, it sounds like they want to do this the hard way.
I love when they got some fight in them.
This is bad. This is bad.
We're about to have a lot of company.
I'll see you soon.